heavily. You know, if the battle that we were in wasn't real, why are they going through all this trouble to try to discredit the Bible, to try to discredit Jesus Christ? Why are they so concerned about Jesus Christ and the Bible if there wasn't a problem here? Knowing that the media is the main tool used by the devil in order to discredit the Bible, Jesus Christ, and these things, and also promote witchcraft. So you got all these things that are going on, and when I went to this seance thing with my mom, you know, this spirit that spoke through this woman nailed it. I got to admit, my mom said, yeah, it happened, just like she said it happened. And for my mom, what that was is, to her, she says, this is more real than anything I've ever seen in the church. Well, she grew up a Catholic, a jaded Catholic. I mean, in a way, I can understand how she could feel that way, because you grow up and you see all this false religion, and you see all this hypocrisy in the church, and you see all this double-minded junk, and you're like, I don't want any part of this. I mean, hey, I went to a Lutheran middle school, personally. I went to a Lutheran middle school. I went to a Catholic high school. I got involved in all the Pentecostal stuff. I've seen such hypocrisy, you know. I've got into the Baptist circles and these things. All I call myself now is a Bible-believing Christian. I don't put a denominational label on myself or anything like that at all anymore, because man's religion typically is going to lead you in the wrong direction. There's very few religious denominations that can police themselves. They're not capable of it really anymore. They are governmental institutions anyway. They're under the Internal Revenue Service, under the government, under their 501c3 status. They're there to make money. Bottom line, money making. And so as a result of this,
makes it worse.
Well, that's true. Well, the love of money is the root of all evil. So you've got these institutions that are motivated for the wrong reason, and the government gave them their right to exist. But if they were of God, why didn't God give them the right? No, we got to go to the government to get our tax-exempt status, so people can give money, so everybody can see them giving money, and then they can write it off on their taxes at the end of the year. What kind of motivation is that? So
that's not given.
I know it's not. And the Bible says, Jesus said, when you give that way, verily you have your reward. You've been seen of men. You got your reward, buddy. We're done. And that's a whole other rabbit trail we could go down. But you got all these things that are going on in the Harry Potter stuff. And like, getting back to the story with my mom, see, she views that. She's seen some pretty heavy-duty things with palm reading and seances and things like that. And what it does is it opens you up to that, and you get conditioned to that way of thinking. And these spirits start to influence you, and you start thinking, you know, this is the only way. This is more real than anything I've ever seen in the Bible. I mean, hey, how could she have known that? Well, let me tell you how she could know that. In the Bible, it talks about the Witch of Endor. Now, the Witch of Endor was the one that when Saul, the king, had fallen away and wasn't in God's will, Saul got so desperate he went to a witch. And Saul said, hey, listen, Mrs. Witch of Endor, I need you to call Samuel up from paradise, because Samuel was the priest that counseled Saul. And she says, I need you to call Samuel up from paradise, because I got to talk to him. I mean, my kingdom's in ruins. I got to have some advice here. Now, Samuel had already told him what was going to happen, but Saul didn't like the answer. So the Witch of Endor invokes, and all of a sudden, you got Samuel coming up here. And the Witch of Endor realized who it was. Now, I believe that was probably the only instance in the Bible where God permitted a spirit to be called up from, at that time, I guess you would call it paradise. Okay? And what he told King Saul at that point was accurate again. Okay? But he went to a witch to invoke a spirit. It's said that the Witch of Endor had what they call a familiar spirit. Okay? What is a familiar spirit? A familiar spirit is a spirit that's familiar with you. That's all it is. So, we live in a world, okay, this three-dimensional world we live in. But what we don't understand is there's a spiritual battle going on around us all the time. It's going on around us all the time. There's good angels. There's bad angels, there's demons, there's things of these other things. They're not bound to our dimension either, and we cannot see them. What is a familiar spirit? A familiar spirit would be a spirit that hung around you your whole life and saw everything that you ever did. You think he might know a little bit about you? Probably. He kind of hung around you your whole life. He's taking notes. Well, when you have a psychic go up there, and she's supposedly reading your mail, like she did with my mom, and she's saying, yes, this happened back when you were, this happened before I was born, what she told my mom. And my mom's there just totally in awe. What it is the familiar spirit that's talking through this woman, that's channeling this spirit, is talking to the familiar spirit that's around my mom. All they're doing is relaying information back and forth. Who gets the glory? God or Satan? Satan. So what happens is it's like a big hook that gets put in their mouth, and they think, wow, look at this. I went to the psychic and they knew this. How could they have known it? It's got to be the way to go. I don't see this happening in the Bible, or I haven't had this happen to me lately like this. But see, that's the hook. And that's why Harry Potter's so dangerous, because it gives you a lot of the same stuff. There's also another thing that happens in Harry Potter is shape-shifting, which is where if you get to a high enough level in witchcraft, and this is portrayed all the time on these occult shows, we'll actually show these witches. I saw this one time. I had flipped through a channel. I think it was that show Charmed, and it was these witches, and this girl was actually changing the color of her hair. She was putting a brush through it, and as she would put the brush through it, it would go from blonde to black. I was like, whoa, but see, that's what Hollywood portrays. They portray, hey, shape-shifting's no big stinking deal. I saw this one, it was called The Initiation of Sarah, where it showed these college sorority girls, and what they were doing is there was this one girl that was at the head of the sorority, and she was actually an old stinking hag witch. And what it was, when she wasn't in front of all the other girls, she was this old hag witch, but as soon as she had to put on the good game face, she would conjure this spell or whatever and transform herself into this beautiful woman. Now, what I'm saying is that's what Hollywood's portraying. Okay? That's what Hollywood's trying to get us conditioned for. There's got to be a reason for it. And this is what Harry Potter's doing too. One of the things they do a lot of is shape-shifting. So, this video, Witchcraft Repackaged, Making Evil Look Innocent, is an excellent source to help make the connection between Potter and the Wicca witchcraft, which Wicca would be more considered, they call white witchcraft. Witchcraft has been around for thousands of years, and it's an abomination, a detestable, vile, and abhorred to God. And then the Bible says, there shall not be found among you anyone who makes his or her sons or daughters pass through the fire, or one who practices witchcraft, or a soothsayer, or one who interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or one who conjures spells, or a medium, or a spiritualist, or one who calls upon the dead. For all who do these things are an abomination to the Lord. Now, everything that I just mentioned is what Harry Potter's promoting, okay? Now, again, you could be mad at me and say, well, I don't believe you. Your argument's really not with me. It's with what the Bible says, okay? So this is what the Bible says. And then it says, and because of these abominations, the Lord your God drives them out from before you. Now, this is when he was dealing with Israel. This is in Deuteronomy 18, 10 through 14. It says, you shall be blameless before the Lord your God if you need to drive these people out. For these nations which you will dispossess listened to soothsayers and diviners. But as for you, the Lord your God has not appointed such for you. In other words, you're not supposed to go around and do this and be a Bible-believing Christian. You're not supposed to go to psychics and mediums and get advice from these ungodly people. Because they don't, most of the time, well, all the time, they're going to ultimately end up leading you down the wrong path anyway. And I guarantee you one thing, you go to a witch or a sorcerer or somebody like this to get your palm, God's never going to get the glory ever. The only one that's going to get the glory is the devil. Okay? Or that person. Oh, look at me, I'm so smart. I'm a psychic. I know this and I know that. Well, you know what they don't tell you? I saw this one show about those psychic detectives things, and they normally don't say this, but in this show what they were saying is that they get thousands and thousands, usually on a per-case basis, when they say, oh, we need help solving this case. They'll have all these thousands of psychics writing in. The vast majority of what these people are saying is wrong. Totally wrong. In fact, they get deluged with all these leads, and they waste so much time because what they're getting is junk.
Yeah, they pick the one out that gets it close.
They pick the one out that gets it close, is what it all. And see, that's the one they put on TV. Oh, he's the one. He's so spiritual. And he's like, you know what's also weird about these shows? It seems like about every one of these, if it's a woman psychic, she's a hardcore lesbian.
Oh, yeah.
Rabid lesbian, butch lesbian. And if it's a guy, he's some flaming gay guy. I mean, flaming. I mean, there's no doubt he's got the whole talk thing going. Why would